And we have finally arrived at the other side of this break. Thank you so much for sticking with us as we head into our second series of today. And as you see, Lunaria is not Lunaria anymore. She has swapped seats with Rob, as Rob is here now to join us on the analyst desk. Me and Josh are still here to provide you with all our lovely insights and, well, if it's me, just the entertainment that I can offer you. And we are going to look at one hell of a series, guys. We're going to look at SK versus G2. Two big LEC orgs.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one because so far they didn't face off against each other. And both also have only one loss so far, which makes it even more interesting. Like G2 Hell lost against Eclipse in Swiss stage, which seemed kind of like a fluke loss to me, due to a really good pick by Sana, and SK lost against Vitality, which we just saw who was dominating the competition right now. So now it's going to be interesting because this is kind of like if Vitality right now, I think for now, they have this #1 spot. Obviously, they still need to prove it in their semi-final match and then advance into the grand finals. But this is probably about who's gonna take that #2 spot till we head into the grand finals of being the runner-up to face Vitality and maybe finally being able to beat them.
And I would also say, if you look at how these rosters have been built, you know, the SK roster, lots of big names on there. You know, we've seen them in the scene a long time. Whereas if you look at the G2 roster, it's Kaltus plus sort of others that they've brought in that we maybe have seen less at those higher levels within the female scene. So a stylistic mismatch in roster building. And also on the Rift, we've seen some interesting drafts coming out yesterday, particularly from G2.
Particularly. But let's have a look at the rosters here. Let's have a look at SK first.
Well, that's actually G2L, but whatever. Rob, you take it.
Oh, G2. G2 Hell. We got Viosna, Sheena, Cultus, Aziri, Lumi. Again, it's a roster build that they haven't gone for the biggest names. Obviously, Sheena and Cultus, we all know. Viosna has sort of been around. I have also played in a couple other of the mixed scene as well. Aziri and Lumi very much are new entries here, if you will. Very much recently coming into the female scene, especially at the highest level. A lot of expectations on G2 in general, right? Because we see them as an org that has always been at that top of the scene. But this roster, I think you should temper those a little bit, but they seem to perform just well in general across the tournament. The one game I look at, it was yesterday, would have been that very final game that they had to play versus Eterna, where, in my opinion, they had a very hard draft to play, and they were able to really run over Eterna and sort of shatter what is a returning champion. And honestly, I've been incredibly impressed across the board. Cultus in particular in mid lane, it is not easy for a role swap, no matter how much practice you had. So we get the clip here as well. We see this is, we can keep it rolling whenever you want. This is up against, I forgot now. This was the first game of the
Mental
day,
Rush.
Mental Rush.
It was, yeah.
Sorry,
Because
because everything dropped and all the names suddenly disappeared. Against Mental Rush, this was a game again where we thought, well, Mental Rush should be winning this, and it was just a great collapse from all sides from G2 Hell. This was again our first game yesterday. They initially pick up Miela, and then they just sort of go player by player by player. And honestly, I know, Josh, you were behind the scenes were frustrated here by seeing how Mental Rush plays, but you're also really applauding G2 Hell for finding this angle, because they were in a game here where they had a more brawly kind of composition with the Ahri, with the sort of Vi. They want to get a pick initially, they want to play it off of that Vi, off of the Ahri diving in, and they managed to do that successfully again and again, despite being behind in the game. Really, really impressive stuff going on for G2 Hell. And again, I look at games later in the day as well, particularly the last one we covered, a draft with like a Caitlyn mid lane and things. This is stuff where Avarosa had very solid drafts yesterday for what we saw on stream. G2 Hell always throwing the curve.
Yeah, indeed. And then we can also look at the SK roster now, before we head into the draft. Because obviously those are like, they went second, and they only lost against Vitality, who has been super dominant. I gotta say though, against Vitality, there was a very big stomp, and it happened especially shaky in the early game. I think the main presence is on macro, but they have a lot of names that are known from their times, and Solari, Vitality, Apollonia, a long stay in SK, and then there's also and Wolfie were in SK before, then have been like in Nexus Reaper, actually Mentor Rush last year as well. And then there's some BDS and Vitality as well. So they have been in a lot of different orgs now, forming this team together with Balino as the head coach, previously known from Galleons. And to quickly show the clip of kind of just displaying how does SK play the game. This is like, you see here, we're 29 minutes in, and it's 4-2 in kills, but what SK did well, they have 3 Drakes here, and it was against Blue Otter, and Blue Otter kind of really got desperate in what to even do, because even though I would say SK didn't really have a good draft, they just outplayed Blue Otter completely on macro, and it's kind of what they rely on. But I also think if they, like, and that's why I saw that they're lost against Vitality, if they fall behind and enemies, for example, have a strong side laner, or generally like just a very, very strong early game where they get giga ahead, I think this is where SK falls, and that's what I would like to see from G2L, a very, very strong early game to just punish and roll with that.
Exactly. I mean, I think what we can tell from these 2 clips is that what you mentioned, Rob, was G2Hell has just that target selection. They've got that going for themselves. Communication is working out. Everything is just smoothly flowing here. And then SK, we see a fantastic team fight from them as well in this clip, with great layering of CC and kind of just having that answer to the initial CC or initial engage rather, that Mental Rush comes out with there in this particular clip. So talking about this, what are your expectations for this series and for the draft, as we are, I think, about ready to head into the draft now?
I mean, I personally would say it's going to be a close match. I actually expect a game 3 because of how close the teams are. I'm gonna lean with SK. It's always like, of course it's gonna with SK, but that also was my prediction. But I'm gonna say 2-1 for SK. I think they're gonna.
I mean,
yeah.
I think just in general, sort of broad sweeping terms of draft, we've seen a lot of Orianna. We've seen Silence. We've seen Nocturnes, and I think that here you've got to see a ban of Orianna on red side. We know both of these teams can potentially pick this up. So for me, I'm looking towards those comics. Ezreal as well seems to be a favorite. Zeri likes that champion as well. So I'm also looking at sort of the power picks coming into this draft, as well as the bit of spice that, again, G2, I keep saying it, they played Caitlyn mid yesterday versus Galio in mid. That is not common anywhere. So Cultists can still bring out these ADCs in mid, so they still have a chance to sort of overlay some spice over the top.
Yeah. Okay. So the names were wrong for a second. Well, there's still now it's fixed. Perfect. So it is SK Avarosa who had the side choice on the red side. And we see G2L just removing the Ashe, the Seraphine Flex even. And we have Nautilus, that's like RC's main pick to just get engaged. We have Orianna ban on SK Avarosa, which makes sense. It's just a strong B1 you can pair up with Jarvan and so on. So yeah, and Sivir ban is probably because G2L is prioritizing the Ezreal. This is something they picked a lot yesterday, especially as first pick. And I think SK Avarosa, they're anticipating that. I think they're gonna let it through and answer it. Oh, never mind. Okay.
My only concern just coming into this game, not necessarily just talking about the draft, was that we had the SK game on, I believe it was on stream yesterday, where they had what you thought was like a bit of a draft kingdom. And they sometimes early on in that game struggled to play to what their draft needs to be doing. I still want to see simple lines through the draft of understanding how to play it out, because I don't want to see a more difficult to execute draft if you aren't able to sort of execute a front-to-back team fighting comp. Then I don't really know where you go from this. But I still want to be seeing some simplicity. We see the Karma first pick and the Zyra coming out.
That's spicy.
I assume.
Yeah, so the thing is, G2Hell opting for the Karma. So first thing that comes to mind with the patch changes, how well is she actually gonna do? Because we kind of always saw her banned. So, like, I don't think we had a single Karma game, and I was gonna say, I should have said it first. Now I look like, yeah, of course I knew that, but then they're gonna pick Leona because Nautilus is out, which also makes sense why they banned the Nautilus. Gives them engage slow, gives them the front line, something Zyra dearly needs, and I think what SK Avarosa right now is realizing, they can go for a long range comp because they're playing into Karma. This is one of the issues, that you lack a bit of engage, you lack a bit of range as well, and I think that's the SK Avarosa goal right here. Just high range comp, good front line, and that's it. While G2Hell now answers with the Varus and the Dr. Mundo very likely in jungle, but I actually think Zyra, I mean, she can build the Andys as well, and you can now go for a high DPS pick. I don't think SK Avarosa is that worried about facing that Mundo here.
I like this a lot, actually, from SK. I said ease of execution, and everyone presses the R button, and then people die, and that's about as easy as you can play in League of Legends. One thing to mention here about that Varus, by the way, it could be a flex between bot and
True.
top. But it also
Yeah.
could be a flex into mid lane if they really wanted to. Let's not forget
if
who
they're
they've got
cooking.
playing.
Yeah.
They cooked yesterday, so I'm not against them cooking. That may be a bit of overcook for me. We see the Zoban coming up against Cultus in mid. I do wonder, because we saw some Varus tops coming out yesterday. We didn't get to cover Vitality Rising's game yesterday, but they played 3 lots of that. I do think it's a pick that generally a lot of people get surprised of in draft. I think a lot of people still assume it's just going into the bot lane, and that some top lanes aren't willing to bring that out. And then rounding out their draft, though, there's not really much. There's plenty of stuff still up on the board if they want to go towards like putting the Mundo in top lane and going in AD Bruiser jungle. It's really still open at the moment.
Also banning Laxoy. Did they forget Rim is not on G2 Hell anymore? Anyway, Sign It On band kind of tells me this is very, very likely not a Varus top lane. That's gonna go into bot lane or mid lane, but not into top. You wouldn't ban these champs because Varus just completely stomps over them.
Yeah, I mean, I also think with the Karma pairing, they probably want to take this into the bot lane, right? Just try and play the long range into the Leona and kite her out and poke her down. Now we see the Mel coming through here as well for SK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, wait.
I like that.
Keeps it open as well. Like, could be six bot lane, could be 6 mid lane.
Could be still, no, I mean, even if they wanted the Varus top, we don't expect because of the bans, but there's still a lot of flex potential. Okay, it's going to be close. It's going to close because obviously they have to pick something. So it'll be Cassante top. It will be Mundo jungle, and then we'll figure out. I'm assuming it's Ziggs mid into the Mel. I assume you don't want to play Varus mid into that, then Varus Karma bot. I actually really like the Ziggs here in general. You are able to poke from range. You're not really getting much value off of the reflect from the Mel, and then obviously, if MF ever tries to set up for a bullet time, you can just drop the bomb on her head and she has to then cancel that and take a ridiculous amount of damage, especially 2x+. And then an R last pick into Cassante. We've seen so much Gnar into Cassante historically in League Esports over time, just because it is such a good lane matchup into that, and then as well can come into team fights or places.
Only issue I see is if you don't, and I think that's kind of like what they drafted themselves into, or I like G2 Hell picking like banning Sign On and then picking Cassante away, because those are the main frontline tanks. When Mega Gnar is not active, SK Avarosa doesn't really have a strong frontline. They have the Leona, who also mainly just wants to go in, and theoretically could be ignored. But then again, frontline is also to kind of stop engages, and G2 Hell doesn't have the most insane engages. The really scary part of G2 Hell is this Mundo, if he can run down like just the carries in the backline. But that's kind of it. Else G2 Hell doesn't have, much more.
I see a lot of standoff here though from G2 Hell, right? If you're standing around those objectives and you're sort of looking for the poke war, you've got the Varus arrows. If you want to go towards that angle, obviously we've seen a lot more recently with the adding of static ship and things like this, more going towards like a on-hit Varus build, but I still think Poke Varus has some value. And then with Ziggs as well, right? You can do insane poke. Ziggs can do insane damage if you can get any kind of lead or get onto those charms. Go for a more like a Lud and Shadow Flame kind of build. So I'm looking at standards here, like if you're a Zyra, you're putting plants down, but if you get hit by 1 or 2 bombs, it's very, very hard for you to ever play more aggressive, and that's when the Mundo comes over the top. I like what both have gone for here. I think ease of execution on both sides, but I'm slightly leaning to G2 actually, if they can play the standoffs correctly.
All right, and Josh, quick one. Where are you leaning towards?
I think slightly SK Avarosa, but it's very close, and it depends how the teams execute the drafts.
All right. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna stick with SK as well. Actually, really, I think they can deal with the Mundo, and he's not gonna get too sticky, because I think that's, as you say, a big factor here. So I'm gonna say SK as well. So let's see who is right, as we're going to toss it over to our casters, and that is going to be Luna and Lunari. What a duo we have here. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Joy, Josh, and Rob. Hello, everybody. I am Luna, and Lunari is joining me on the cast desk this time from the analyst desk during our first series. This way for me.
This way, okay, it's this way for me. Perfect.
Brilliant. Looking like a very interesting game going ahead. I mean, those drafts were very, very apparent in what their identities were.
Yeah, definitely. I think so that just both teams definitely have a different game plan, and we are already going into the game, so we're gonna see instantly how those game plans are gonna be shown on the Rift. And just to go over the draft really quickly again, we've seen the desk already talk about the Mundo for G2, which is definitely going to be a difference maker. We've actually seen the Cassante into the Gnar matchup earlier, going really, really terribly for the Cassante. So could definitely be an idea they stole maybe from an earlier game.
Sheena gonna have to flash already.
Early
Zenith Blade will
engage.
land. Blimenek, a lot of damage coming down in the early 1v1. These teams, I thought it would be a slower early game, but it's not. Cleanse already used away from Iziri. Cultist gonna get some poke over the wall. Is this gonna be a full level 1 brawl for this blue buff? Are we going to go to our waves, or are we going to drop the XP? Zenith Blade going to be used. Flash has to be dropped from Iziri as well. Blue buff's going to reset. Do have Yushia quite low on this buff. If she can get the smite, things might be playable. A cleaver tags, and the Gromp's doing damage. Looks like she might just have to reset. Hell of Arrow is going to keep her out for sure. And the blue buff is going to go over to G2 Hell. Scrappy! It's in their favor.
Yeah, definitely an advantage they take early on. But it costed a lot of time, and also a lot of their health bar. But they're actually following through with that.
Oh no.
And yeah, the camp is actually resetting.
Yushia, no.
Yeah, but it shows a little bit. G2 is just going for the early pressure here and just trying to enable that Mundo that we just talked about is gonna be so crucial for their comp. And yeah, they just want to see the Mundo in the game. And on the other side, we have, as I mentioned, a Gnar into a Cassante, which we saw today gone terribly for the Cassante. And some interesting like bot lane choice, I think. If you got the angle, if you get the wombo combo onto the team, this Varus and this Ziggs are gonna have a hard time surviving. But if not, this Mundo can easily just be running them down and giving them a hard time getting the DPS they need to get down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very much slow versus fast-paced gameplay as we get into the later
Yes.
stages of this game. Of course, we've got 3 poke champions on one side and an all-in brawl on the other.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Yet.
carry on.
No, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm sorry. No, definitely. I mean, G2 just drafted a full slow-paced poke comp. They want to see the extended fights, the slow fights, the just also pokes around a dragon, around a baron, around those objectives. These are the moments that G2 want to play around. We've seen SK's playstyle in general being really macro focused. So it's gonna be an interesting one how they're gonna match the pokey playstyle of G2 in this one. But we see what we've seen earlier already, that the Gnar has a good time in top lane here, and poked already half the health bar of the Cassante.
Yeah, pretty standard for this matchup. It's melee versus range,
Yes.
and everybody hates the range top laners. Looking more across the board as a whole, we can see CS is relatively even. Yushia able to keep up with Sheena despite how the early game went. So we can see, actually, Sheena looking for a possible play on this bottom side. Channel the reset, but could look for a little bit of stick around and hover just to make sure. But generally, CS is pretty even across the board. Only about 200 gold in favor of SK Avarosa, coming from the small leads that are being accrued.
Yeah. But definitely nothing major so far. And as you already mentioned, we see Yusha on the Zyra, even though the early invade hurt a little bit, still keeping up with the farm, which is really crucial here, so that the Mundo can't just outscale and just outrun the game here. So really nice work in this case.
Absolutely is. First dragon has spawned, and grubs are only about 2.5 minutes away. So first 5 minutes of this game, slow, now up to 400 gold in favor of Avarosa. We see a little bit of poking in the bottom lane, but not too much as Aoshi able to just eat the Karma W and sidestep away from that inner flame as there's a root in the mid lane, and Kaltis, not very long for this world. First blood goes across to Apollonia.
Yeah, really well executed there, and just maybe a little overstep. And this could definitely mean the early dragon for SK Avarosa, and it definitely looks like G2 is just gonna give that to SK. They have like no tools available right now. Prio bot, prio mid, everything is looking great.
And you can absolutely afford to give the early objectives with this composition. The whole thing they want to be doing is controlling an area first.
Yeah.
And if they can't do that, they can't walk in.
Definitely, and it's better to just give the early dragon away than just force a fight that you're just gonna lose way more on. So I do like the decision to just play it slow, keep it slow, and stick to the plan, stick to the game plan, and try not to force anything you don't have to force. But still, an early dragon stacking for SK could be also a really nice potential win condition for them.
I certainly could. We see Lumi just hovering around mid lane here, just to provide a little bit of safety to Kaltis. Level 6 is not hit for either of these junglers just yet either, so no major plays looking to be had at the moment. Aoshi is sat on a pink ward at the moment, so if there was ever a time to try and punish Nenris, it is in the next 10 seconds or so, but is sitting relatively safely back under that tier 1.
Yeah, definitely. I think both teams are just trying to play it slow, to not overstep, to not give too much away right now. And both teams are doing a really good job right now on not overstepping. And G2 is just slowly but surely gaining back some momentum on the bot lane and some more pressure on the bot lane. Also gaining back some vision control over the river, which could be definitely really crucial for the next dragon. And as you already mentioned, they definitely want to go for area control, and this is the setup that the team comp of G2 just loves and loves to play around.
Most certainly, as we see Sheena looking for another invade onto Yushia here. Plants are going to do a good chunk of work with that ward in the bush. We can see pings coming down, and it is G2 hell with first move. Wolfie is coming, but Lumi is already there. Apollonia has arrived. The Garden of Thorns has been dropped. As this Mega Inferno Bomb, not much damage coming through just yet onto either jungler. Both are low, but not within lethal range. So both teams are going to back away. The ultimates popped for both Sheena and Yushia there, as well as Kaltis.
Crucial sidestep there as well to not get hit by the Leona CC in this situation. But still, SK is gonna go for the Void Grubs, the buffed Void Grubs. So definitely a little bit more valuable than they were a couple of weeks ago. So that's the second objective going into the hands of SK. So definitely going to start the objective stacking, and it is definitely going their way right now. I mean, they've already managed to get 1k gold lead, which doesn't sound like a lot right now, but it can definitely snowball later into the game. So everything going right now for SK, and G2 has to see if they can find the angles to contest those objectives later on.
Absolutely, and of course most of this gold lead is currently sitting on Apollonia on this Mel. Now, a lot of people will call Mel a bit of a fake champion, gold doesn't matter, but she will still one-shot somebody's head, and you can very effectively use Mel to bridge another champion into the game just by having them play together. So, definitely not the worst person to have all of this gold on. About just under a minute until this second dragon. Are you expecting G2 Hell to look to contest this one, or do you think it's just going to be given over to SK once again?
I think they are looking to contest this. You can see the vision that just was placed down in the bot side river, like a lot of deep vision as well. So I think they are trying to play for some prior bot lane now and look to contest or maybe to steal. I mean, they have a lot of poke utilities that could just steal and flip a dragon, but SK is doing a good job just clearing out this vision right now and just making G2's life just a little bit harder. But right now, I would expect to see G2 definitely contest this one, and we can see Sheena as well, just roaming towards bot lane, and the pings are coming through as well. So I think they're definitely looking to contest.
I would concur with that line of thinking. You can see Lumi and Iziri stepping up now. Sheena joining them. She just missed that Zenith Blade, so it's going to be very hard to stop this Mundo walking in. Shield of Daybreak is going to go down. Stranglethorn's down as well. Dragon's going low. It is smited away. It is taken by Sheena. Rooted up. Down goes the bullet time, and Lumi has to flash away. She going very low. Flashes away. Flashed after by Sheena. Able to live on one. Apollonia blast coning to safety. Will get tagged by the Cleaver, but it's not enough. There is one death. It is Yushia and the dragon to G2 Hell.
That was so close for Ace to leave this fight with just a little bit of health bar left. So insane that she managed to get out of there. But as you already mentioned, definitely really worth for G2 here, delaying the dragon stacking for SK and also getting one kill back is everything probably they could have hoped for this contested dragon, and it's looking really even again. I mean, what did we expect? Both teams left yesterday's Swiss stage with 4-1, so definitely two really strong teams. So I was hoping for a really close one, and so far both teams are delivering.
That they are. Important to mention, the gold from that kill did go into Kaltus's back pocket, so that lead that was existing in the mid lane has been neutralized. That being said, there is now a big lead in favor of Nenris on this bottom lane, thanks to the completion of that cull. Very strong if you can get it going. Hubris completed on the other side for Iziri, however, so this lethality Varus, if it can get going, is going to hurt.
Definitely, it's definitely gonna hurt, but also a scaled and stacked misfortune is gonna hurt. So it just depends on how both teams are gonna be able to enable those carries and those damage carries for their team, and which team is gonna get the DPS out that they need to get out. But yeah, I really do like the little silent scaling of the misfortune in the bot lane, because as I mentioned earlier, those wombo combos combined with Ileona later in the game, and especially looking at the team of G2, which are with Varus and Ziggs some squishy targets to go on.
Gonna get completely caught. It does not matter how much health you've got when you take a solar flare, a bullet time, and a Stranglethorn to the face.
And that's what I was just talking about. It's for sure enough for squishy targets if we can see a Mundo getting deleted like this with the wombo combo. And that's just the angles that G2 has to be really careful about. That this is not happening too much and too often. Because, yeah, as I mentioned, if you find the angle, this is gonna hurt. And especially on your squishy damage targets, and then a fight can be over really quick.
Certainly will. First items coming through for every member bar Shi on the Rift. Now, Bloodthirster, Blackfire Torch, Leandries, and Trinity Force for the side of SK Avarosa, and a Mikhail's, a Hubris, a Ludens, a Heartsteel, and an Iceborne Gauntlet for the side of G2 Hell, as G2 Hell starts up the Herald.
Yeah, let's see if SK can do anything about it. Bullet
She's
time
looking-
not available so far. It's not looking like it.
Yushu was
And they're
looking to
just-
walk in, but the poke, a little bit too much.
Yeah, just too quick on the Herald there. Definitely another objective that G2 really likes to secure themselves. So probably trying to open up the map with the power of this Herald. Probably gonna go towards mid, I think. And let's see how they can utilize it. But still, SK sitting on a 2.2k goal lead, which, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't sound too much or doesn't sound too big, but can be scaling really quick, especially if you have it on your damage carry, as we see it with the misfortune in the bot lane right now. We see a little setup there around mid lane.
Solar Flare comes down, doesn't land onto Keltis, gonna flash away. Lumi and Sheena both in the area now, looking onto Aoshi and Nemris. Barrier used to block the damage from the Mega Inferno bomb as teleport comes in from Vyojna and from Wolfie. Dragon is up now, so this could turn into an extended play, but ultimates are down. Hellbarrow is going to be used just to keep people out, and Vyojna tanking up a lot of the chip damage coming through. Double up going to tag onto Iziri. As if they want to do something, now's the time. Chain of Corruption has gone wide, and Wolfie is mega knocked up by the Herald as Sheena does what she can. Vyojna in the backside finds the ultimate onto one, finds the first kill of the fight. Wolfie now stuck behind everybody. Sheena will drop to the Golden Eclipse, but it is traded for Wolfie's life. And the Dragon should go to G2.
This looks like a really crucial fight for SK Avarosa in this situation. This is definitely not what they were going for in this moment. And I really do love the play with the Herald. You could see early on in the fight just the poke damage that was coming through onto SK and how much those health bars just get lowered before they even need to engage. And using the Herald as an engage tool to just knock up half the team of G2 was just such a smart move. And so half the team of SK. So G2 had a way easier time just following up, even though the Chain of Corruption wasn't hitting, which was a little unlucky in this moment. But such a beautiful, beautiful play by G2. And now the goal lead is basically evened out. And G2 is finding themselves in a way better place.
Most certainly is. That has ballooned Vyojna into this game, something chronic. In what was a pretty rough matchup, now sitting over 1,000 gold ahead of her counterpart. And you could see, as you mentioned, you could see the comp working as intended. G2 held, they got control of the river, and it was almost impossible for SK to walk in. As soon as that Chain of Corruption goes wide, the fight looks good until that Herald play comes in. And I have to give props to Sheena for stopping Wolfie mid-hop. That is the important part there, is you stop this Gnar getting the Mega Gnar off on your entire team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to just have that quick thinking and just think about the Herald as a possibility there is just so smart. And just a great play in general, for sure. Definitely credited. Credit needed.
Absolutely. So, that is two dragons to G2 Hell to the 1 to SK Avarosa. Next one in 2 minutes 50. Baron in 40 seconds. I don't think we'll see an early Baron this game. I don't think either team is the fastest at taking it. I think SK Avarosa are slightly quicker because Zyra does take it very well. We'll see if there is any kind of early setup around this objective. But you would imagine the focus as it stands is on that first tower. If you can break open mid lane tower, the map becomes yours.
Yeah, definitely. And it's looking like they are still hovering around top jungle a little bit. But as you mentioned, I don't think that we're going to see an early Baron either. But something we've talked about early on in the game is the matchup from the K'Sante into the Gnar, which is also scaled really, really well in favor of G2. We've seen it earlier going really in favor of the Gnar, but Winsner is doing a really good job just being able to pick up those kills and pick up the farm lead and matching into the ranged top laner, and definitely something that G2 can rely on later in the game, and especially in the late game, to see this Cassante pop off as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, pick up a couple of kills from a fight and then is going to naturally become that little bit easier for you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that EUniverse has played this incredibly well the entirety of this game so far.
Yeah, we're just having a little bit of a lag, but that's not going to be too throwing off. I hope so. But yeah, definitely incredibly well played, and especially the whole map. So not just the top lane matchup in general, but also impacted the whole map throughout the game so far. And I think that's definitely what the comp of G2 also needs, and what her job is just gonna be in this series. I hope we're gonna go back.
First tower was just taken in that bottom lane. The satchel charge able to explode it from one plate by Cultist. We see a little bit of a trade going on towards the bottom side river. Sheena looking onto Aoshi. Stun is going to get blocked away by that shield.
Yeah, and now you can just
seconds on the dragon.
You can just also see just the damage coming through from the from the side of G2. I mean, Ios was just poked 50% of her health bar, so definitely getting scarier and scarier to just walk up and get your farm, because you're probably gonna be traded back with some lowering health bars here.
Is G2 calling Baron here? No, they just weren't sure where SK went. Dragon is up and available, and it would be soul point for G2 if they can
just
pick
incredible.
it up. You can see Sheena and Cultist shifting down towards it, and it's an Ocean Soul.
Yeah.
The poke comp getting Ocean Soul would be insane.
Yeah.
But if SK Avarosa can flip it on its head, the comp that goes all in and has to survive the poke comp getting Ocean Soul makes the game 10 times harder for the poke comp. Third dragon secured by G2 Hell.
That definitely, but SK has basically no tools here to match even close to this dragon. So yeah, they have to give it away, even though it's gonna be a hard one. But they definitely have a countdown now, with which is 4 minutes and 40 seconds roughly, for a fight they probably have to take, because as you already mentioned, giving away Ocean Soul in a poke-com is not the ideal point of a game where you what you want to face this moment for SK. But SK still in a gold lead, so a thin gold lead, but still in a gold lead. A lot of that sitting on Yusha in the jungle, so definitely something they probably should work around, and still sitting on Nenris in the bot lane. So maybe this can be their tool to win this fight in now 3 minutes 50 seconds, because they're probably gonna have to go for it.
That they are, and it does mean that you can threaten the Baron for Dragon trade, because you can't risk having one person off taking this Soul Dragon. The rest of the team does the Baron. SK have to pick their target very carefully. We can see pings coming down onto the middle lane. They're going to look onto Iziri here. Does have that Edge of Night completed, so is pretty safe. Teleport coming in from Vyoshna as well. Super Inferno going to tag, and I mean, Yushia is just immediately blown up, caught by that jump forwards, and now there is pings coming down up towards this Baron. Aoshi over the wall, trying to get rid of some vision. Vyoshna just going to cover Iziri here as they try and get this wave in. And G2 Hell, they see the dive, they collapse it perfectly, and they look to take the Baron off the back. We can see SK Avarosa may look to walk in here and just play for the fight. Their jungler is dead, so stealing the objective is unlikely. Vyoshna playing keep out here. that minefield is going to make this a little bit harder. Wolfie is about to go Mega. If she can make her way into this fight, it could turn into something massive. Baron is going low. EUniverse is just being a gatekeeper to this pit, doing so well, knocked aside into the wall. In comes the bullet time, but it doesn't really land or find mark with anybody. EUniverse going low. Golden Eclipse will take her down, but it's still 4 members strong with this Baron.
Yeah, I think just bodyguarding the pit there was definitely the right choice, even though if she falls in the end, it's still, as you mentioned, such a huge lead now to be able to push out those waves, to pressure even more into the towers and into the lanes of SK. And especially with a dragon coming up in now roughly 2 minutes, that's the setup that you want. That's the perfect setup. You have lanes that are naturally pushing, so you either get the dragon pretty easily or you get way more control and pressure on the map. So both of them are like good outcomes for G2 right now. And you don't have the threat of the Baron trade anymore because it's off the map for the next 5 minutes. So definitely a great position for G2 to be in, even though they had to trade their top laner.
Most certainly is. We can see the pressure on towards this mid lane. They really want to try and crack this tower. Cultist in the top side. That top tier 1 was cracked, looking for the tier 2 at the same time. EUniverse just going to hover Nenris, keep this Varus safe, while Lumi is off with Sheena. Cultist able to take the top lane tier 2 as well. The gold lead that did exist for SK Avarosa off the back of this Baron has been nullified ever so slightly. Pings coming down onto this dragon already from the side of SK Avarosa. 45 seconds.
Yes, and it's just as we talked about, we have Wolfie just catching top wave while G2 is already starting the dragon fight.
Now she's gonna have to flash away. Nemris is just clearing this mid wave here. She's doing what she can to make sure that there isn't chance of losing much else, or forcing G2 Health to lose something in return.
Yes, definitely. But at least they could extend the fight.
A lot of damage. Super Mega Inferno Bomb Arrow finds its mark, but the Chain of Corruption goes wide due to a good flash from Nemris. Wolfie's on the flank, though, but flank is not where you want to be. All outed into the middle of the team. And Iziri gets on the board with her first kill of the game. You could see everybody wanted to make something happen, but they just couldn't. The second that mid lane tier 1 fell to the satchel charge. Looking for more on towards this middle lane. The Baron power play is 2.3k with 15 seconds left, and this tower will only balloon it further. SK Avarosa have had the gold lead all game long, but every time a dragon comes up, they struggle, they falter, they lose their feet. They've lost 2 more towers off this play. The dragon's not even down yet. We'll see another fight shortly.
Yeah, probably, but I mean, G2's in the perfect position to fight. I mean, they have the fast recalls. They're just gonna go really quickly back to base, get stocked up, get shopping, get the items that they just got from this Baron play into their back pocket, and now look for another fight. That's just exactly what they want to do. And Wolfie, again, a little late to the fight. Some poke already landed onto the side of SK. And you can just see the gold lead shifting with this one play. It's insane. Yeah, and they're just gonna go for the dragon now. And probably SK is gonna have no say in this. Yeah, they're just gonna be zoned away. No chance.
That is soul across to G2 Hell, and they have an iron fist over this game. You can see SK Avarosa looking to maybe take this top lane tier 2 in response, but there is 4 members strong pushing the rest of the map. They can get this tier 2, but they have to reset to save their base. There is not a tier 2 left standing on the map in their favor. The bot lane inhib is going to be the focal point for now. Yushia, Nenris, and Apollonia all forced away, but Wolfie and Aoshi will be able to keep this tower alive for now. In fact, Aoshi looking to continue on. Teleport coming in from Apollonia. They want this fight. Wolfie's just dropped Mega. If they can find their mark, it could go well, but this is a big, big gamble, committing a lot of resources. Arrows are landing left, right, and center from Iziri. And SK Avarosa, they can't catch them. Roadrunners on the loose.
They are just too fast, running away, running it just down, and also just buying more time, pulling away almost like the whole team of SK away from the map, and the pings are coming down, and they are just going to push in these waves now. SK is gonna try to group, probably, and force a fight in a favorable number count for them. But I think G2 is gonna make that a hard time.
20 seconds on this Baron, and all 5 members strong on the top side. SK Avarosa are just looking to ward G2 Hell off of this area for now. As you say, they need to look for a numbers advantage fight, but it's so hard to catch onto anybody right now. Of course, Iziri has that Edge of Night. Sheena has her passive. Lumi is slippery at the best of times, and same with Cultist. They have to find the 1 in a million angle.
Yeah, definitely.
Damage.
They have to land this wombo combo now. In the perfect situation.
Wolfie is looking to go Mega very soon as Ryojna rejoins her team. The only member not here is Cultist, but does have teleport available. It is SK Avarosa playing Gatekeeper to the river. Oh, she's looking for a flank. They might be able to find Cultist here. Mega Inferno Bomb is used, and 3 members appear on her head. Immediately blown up by Yushia. And now it is G2 Hell on the back foot. You can see Sheena. She wants to find a way into this fight, but they don't have go buttons. They cannot force their way in. They can only control. Baron is started up, and a lot of area control coming out of this Zyra. Aoshi able to stun up Ryojna, who could look for a way in. Knocked back by Q3. A good catch onto Iziri. Forces the damage down. It wasn't Iziri, it was Lumi, sorry. Iziri's pushing mid lane. Ryojna goes down. Sheena and Iziri are still alive. Lumi dropped off the back of a beautiful catch coming through from Aoshi on that Zenith Blade. The Baron is started, but they don't do this insanely quickly. They've had to send Wolfie back as an inhibitor has fallen, and Sheena still being alive with that passive means it is so dangerous. Still has the flash as well. There is no vision, so it is a big guessing game. There is the Zenith Blade. A lot of damage coming through onto this Mundo. Maximum Dota's just popped with the Golden Eclipse. Will take her down. Cultist is there. Mega Inferno Bomb will find onto Yushia. So it's at least a 1-for-1 on the back end of the fight. 1 inhibitor fell. Another inhibitor tower taken with it thanks to Iziri. And will the Scorch find its mark? It won't. Apollonia living on an inch of health. And thanks to the Baron recall, there will be no following arrow. SK Avarosa flip the game on its head, get themselves the Baron, unable to move.
This is insane. SK actually managed to find this 1 in a million angle. Maybe a little bit on the back of Cultist's flank, if you want to call it like that. Because she was definitely a little bit out of position there, and but perfectly executed there by SK Avarosa to see this out of position moment and to instantly punish those little mistakes that G2 is making in this moment and completely snowball the situation into an insanely favorable fight and into a Baron. And yeah, that Apollonia is leaving that fight with like the slightest health bar ever seen probably is also really great for SK to just secure 1 more Baron for their team. Now let's see what they can do with this power play now, trying to look for this mid lane tier 2 and trying to push in into G2 here. I don't know if they want to force another fight or not. Probably looking maybe for an out of position player again and for those catches.
Something important to mention, the wave clip on the side of G2 Hell. It's not incredible, it's mostly Cultist, especially into these Baron minions, as Empress takes a big chunk from that bouncing bomb there. Elder Dragon up in 20 seconds, and it is again SK Avarosa with this inside line. which makes it really difficult for the side of G2 Hell to play. Solar Flare goes wide, doesn't find its mark on anybody. As the Super Mega Inferno Bomb will get dropped onto 3 people's heads and do a little bit of chip damage. Wolfie going low is going to go Mega shortly. Iziri had to drop the Edge of Night to get a little bit of chip damage down. You can see Apollonia 6-0-0 on this Mel, doing so much work. Wolfie going to teleport back into this play. Vyoshna a little low in tank terms. Arrow going to find its mark once again, and this could be an Elder for end of game trade, but if it does not work out in their favor, it may flip it on its head. G2 Hell, what call are they going to make? They're split, they can't make the decision, they're walking back in, they're looking to contest the Dragon. Aoshi going to find the stun onto Vyoshna, Apollonia going to find the root, bullet time onto the tank, but it only finds mark on the tank, and 3 members already low thanks to the rest of the poke coming down. Wolfie going to keep the Baron aggroed for now. Vyoshna going to TP just for a little bit of a health shield. TP on the spot. Iziri and Cultists are ripping through the health bar of the side of SK Avarosa. Another mark comes through, and the Super Mega Inferno Bomb will find mark. Sheena will grab the Elder. Aoshi will go down, and G2 Hell once again find a mark in a fight they had no right finding. 3 members dead, the only members left being the carry duo from the side of SK Avarosa. 1 inhibitor is down, the other is open, there is no Baron left in your sights. First Nexus Tower falls, flash fall from Vyoshna, knocked back, Apollonia falls to Sheena, and it's just Nemris left, and she drops as well. G2 Hell, they lost it for a second, but they find it once again.
This was just an insane poke play around this Elder Dragon. You could just see the health bars just getting lower and lower and lower, and they managed to extend the fight and just play the fight they really wanted to play with this comp. And even though they dropped the Baron earlier, they could just find it back, find their groove back, and just play perfectly and execute perfectly what they've drafted. And it was just beautiful to see.
It absolutely was. I mean, as we say, they had that moment towards the end there, right, where they drop the ball a little bit. The Baron goes across. They're struggling that small amount, but retaking that river with a poke comp is not easy at the best of times. So the fact that they were able to pull that off, not only pull it off, but in such a dominant fashion, I don't think they lost a member during that fight, shows how comfortable G2 Hell are on a composition like this. And I think that showed throughout the game. SK Avarosa were the ones with the gold leads for a good chunk of it, but it was G2 Hell who were pulling the triggers, who were making the plays, who were finding every angle they knew they could, despite giving most of the early objectives.
Yeah, even though SK is a pretty macro-focused team in general, G2 just managed to just keep control over the map and keep control over the key objectives and just be there on time and keep organized as a team. And it was just overall a well-rounded performance for them. So for me, definitely a deserved win. And I'm just gonna say I'm curious to see what they're gonna pick in the next games. If they're gonna maybe find some pocket picks and some cheesy picks, because I usually like to see them.
We will see indeed. Now, it wasn't quite as big of a dismantling as I think it looked towards the end there. It was still quite a close game. That being said, we're going to throw it to a very quick break. When we come back, the desk will be here to break that down for you and get us ready for game number 2.
game number 1. It was a start to this series. A bit of a stare down, a bit of back and forth, but, you know, we're here to talk you through it. Josh, do you want to start it off for us?
I mean, I think it was very, very close, but G2Hell in the end, like in the important, like when it mattered, they always had like a slight edge. I think the biggest misplay from G2Hell in the entire game was an invade by Sheena for Yushia's red buff, and she got it, but it lost them so much tempo that SK Avarosa got grubs, which got buffed this patch. And I thought those gonna be really, really strong, but we're gonna go to that point later because they help a lot with split pushing. But I think that was like the only big misplay from G2Hell. Could have been game losing. It could have been so big to be game losing if SK Avarosa played it well. But then when it comes to objectives, SK Avarosa, they were really, really struggling, and it also seemed like they were scared to do mistakes, which led to G2Hell just come in with much, much more confidence. Like SK Avarosa was just, do we want to do this or do we want to not? And G2Hell was like, okay, if you don't decide, we decide for you, and we just kill you all.
Yeah, and exactly. And we're talking about these objectives. I think we have a few clips to roll in the back to just highlight the points that you're making here.
So I think the big thing here for G2's comp, right, is that they really love standoffs. Not like this, but we'll see across the entire clips where they're able to land poke onto the squishier members. You see a cleaver lands, Mantra Q from Karma, an arrow lands, and then the Ziggs bomb lands, and that's no more Zyra, bye-bye, no more jungler, that's the dragon down. And this is the first example of many such cases where G2 are able to sort of, they can clear up the fight afterwards, but they're able to land the poke before the fights happen. And this is what their comp wants to do. And I think, Josh, your point about those grubs, which will come in as you see in this clip, and I'll let you take away here, is really where the pressure point from SK should have come from.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, in this one, completely disrespecting the Herald, and yet again another bad Drake, where G2Hell, I mean, one issue they had was just going in. They had to poke out, but this was the one time they could just use the Herald to engage onto them. But because they had so much poke, as Avarosa, what they had to do, especially with the 3 grubs, and that's why I thought it was game losing when it happened back then, is because you can put so much pressure on the side and you can take the turret so easily. So much more easily just because they got buffed so much. You said it earlier off air, it was like a 40% buff to the damage. That is crazy damage. And Ku is gonna answer the Gnar. But instead, Wolfie was on mid lane all the time with the team. And it felt like, I don't know if the team or her, like, but there was fear to just move away from the team and just go for the split push to put pressure on G2Hell, because it seemed like something they actually, because at one moment where it looked like maybe Avarosa can come back was when they were catching cultists, moving from side lane, disrespecting, and SK Avarosa just took full control of their jungle. This was like one of the moments. Normally you create them by like exerting that side lane pressure, but Wolfie was not doing that, despite having grubs, and that should have been how SK Avarosa easily wins the game. And instead, they played into G2Hell's strength. They look very scared of their game, and G2Hell, they're just proving, because this is kind of the matchup, who's going to be the second seed. They're proving that they're a better team because they played to perfection to their comp, while SK Avarosa played into what G2Hell wanted to do.
Definitely. I would also like to highlight here that SK are meant to be the team with the far more experienced players, right, across the board. They shouldn't understand what their wing con is, especially after picking up those grubs. With the Gnar, who isn't really answerable on sides, I do think this is a bit of a concern, because we saw this yesterday in the SK Avarosa game we played, where they had that sort of team fighting 5v5 comp, and they didn't play to it until they realized the enemy ran into them. They were like, hold on, we can play like this. So I do want to, this was meant to be an ease of execution draft, really. You can play sides, and then it forces the enemy team into you because you're putting pressure on sides. You then have Leona, MF, and you have the Zyra. This isn't what it happens to be. They play those 5v5s. They have Wolfie standing in the front line when really she should be somewhere hitting a turret, and I'm a bit concerned for game 2. I invest in G2 stonks whenever I'm like yesterday. They seem to reward me a bit here. So my friends, I'm feeling pretty good for this game 2.
Yeah, but there's one more thing actually. There's one more. Wait, no, I think wait, I lost my. Yeah. Because the Gnar into Cassandra, right? I think we saw even last game, like last series between Vitality and Eterna, and you saw how OP consistently was on side lane and was putting down the pressure. That's what Wolfie definitely could have done here too, because G2 Hell, they lacked engage. You know, normally the greatest fear for a split pusher is either an even stronger side lane or enemy has fast tools to engage on you on side lane, and G2 Hell had neither. But I think if this doesn't work, you need to have a better comp in team fights for SK Avarosa. And it's probably also connected to a pick that I felt like Yushia, even though Zyra is one of her mains, she plays in solo queue a lot. It didn't look that impressive here in competitive at all. And I think you gotta go back to being the meta slave, just playing those kind of junglers. and just going back to, well, I guess I'm gonna play the Wukong, the Xiao, the Jav, and that's me, yep. I think that's what we need to see from her, because it just also felt like SK also wasn't ready to play with the Zyra either.
Yeah, no, the Zyra, it felt like a bit of a disconnect, and I understand comfort, of course, and it's a best of 3, we have to keep that in mind, so it's okay to test the waters in this first game, but then you do have to be ready to put your money where your mouth is in that second game to be able to drag that over the line to a possible win here. So I agree, and I mean, meta junglers are meta for a reason, right? Like, they're strong, they just work, they fit into a lot of comps better than perhaps the Zyra did. So yeah, Rob, you won the prediction here, G2. They got this first game. What are the expectations going into game number 2?
For G2 or across the board? I think
across the board.
Across the board, because I think G2 have shown that they're willing to play comps. So, for example, as you said on the day one, we saw the Caitlyn Ezreal. Today we've seen a Ziggs Varus poke comp. Generally, these comps are seen as harder to play, right? You do actually have to like get to objectives early, get your setup ready, like actually poke them out, land your spells onto them, and I think what we've seen from G2 is they're willing to play something that's a little bit more funky, a little bit higher level of execution. I still think SK should be sticking to ease of execution, because to me it seems that like here, like we said about the Null, I think that sometimes side laning, like a sort of 1-4 where you're playing the 4-man core that doesn't really want to be engaged upon the side lane, it is a bit harder to play. There's a lot of communication needed there between especially the side laners saying, okay, I'm pushing now, this is when you can aggress onto a location, they've got to bring someone to answer me. That's like if here, for example, replace the Null with something that, not saying you pick Ornn into Cassante, but give you something that when you get to those 5-5s, you're against those longer range comps, which I do think G2 Hell are going to prefer. We've seen Cultist bring out an Orianna, but we have generally seen her plays like a Zoe. We've seen Ziggs, we've seen Caitlyn. That's where you're actually able to engage on them. Because at the moment, I'm seeing a distinct lack of consistent engage. The owner in this game can only really ult a front line. She's not going to get a solar flare onto the backline without being poked out here. So I want to see even more ease of execution from SK Avarosa. And G2 Hell, just keep doing what you're doing. You seem happy and comfortable playing these more difficult to execute comps.
Yeah, 100%.
So we can see that SK has gone for red side here, Josh. So what are your expectations before we see the first bans coming through?
It's gonna be complicated, I think, for SK Avarosa, because the thing is, we've seen G2 Hell with like Viosna a lot on tanks, which we're not used to from like the previous years. But that's the thing right now, if you lock yourself into that thought at SK Avarosa that she played a lot of tanks, you might forget that she's actually known to pick stuff like the Gwen or even Vladimir, like champs that can really scale well into lane. And SK Avarosa, they were tending to pick tanks early, especially then to maybe give room for someone else to get a counter pick. But it was often R1, R2 instead of like the third pick on their side. And I really hope that if SK Avarosa plans to play a tank, that they do it on third pick, they don't forget about this, because this is what I would do as G2 Hell right now. I wouldn't do the same thing again, because they have different strengths, and I'm pretty sure they're prepared for like different ways of playing. This just was one of them, just having a poke on. I think in this case, if you get Wolfie to pick a tank early before the last pick, you aim to counter it and you play fully for Viosna into side lane, and I think that's what we're gonna see in the draft.
I've seen Viosna Vane actually.
Oh yeah.
In the UK scene, actually, she subbed in on a team over there, and she brought out the Vane. It was to mixed success, but
I was
there is
just
a few picks
thinking
there.
about that one actually.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Okay, so
We have seen quite a bit of attention coming out around the Vayne in recent competitive play. But it's going to be the Nico first pick here.
interesting. Wait, Karma is out. Karma's out.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
Fearless.
Bard is now banned as well.
Barty's gone.
Yeah. So how are you gonna solve this? Nautilus was banned as well. Are we just gonna go maybe just something like Sivir Lulu? Just to be like, okay, you have the Nico, we really don't care, we're just gonna scale up. But let's see what they lock. They have banned Ambassador though, but also probably because G2 Hell was like, yeah, we could first pick Ambassador, let's ban the Renekton. And SK actually just going for full proactiveness with the Rel, which indicates that we're gonna see another R5 top lane. Probably just to avoid the situation where you give Yosna like a really easy pick to take over the game.
Is this a possibility at all? Well, I assume it's not a flex Nico, right? Like, it's not very uncommon to see that in now as well. It's still a very strong support. But again, I'm actually interested. I'm thinking Nico with new Imperial Mandate. I keep bringing this up. Why is our ability? This item is very good. Like, Nico
It's
on
really
her E
strong.
and her ult
Yeah.
would get a significant reduction in cooldown, and that is Nico's playmaking tools, right? So I can
Yeah.
definitely see a build like that. Maybe it is stronger dispatch. Smolder Nico a bot lane, which Nico can get Smolder through that lane with just having so much damage from the support role, and then Smolder gets online later. Wukong coming through, that is also some disengage as well as sort of some secondary engage there. It's really good into the rel, can deny and engage from that champion. And then the Vi, they're looking to kill Smolder. They're coming for a Zeri here. They're not letting the UK ADC get any space.
Yeah, I mean, SK Avarosa now is going for the all-in-com GTL, surely gonna ban their Ahri. I mean, that's kind of like a must ban. Would be true free for SK Avarosa, especially because Mel is also out. You know, it's like what you usually pick into it. But they're banning on first. I mean, they could be that they still go for the on sign and just let the Ahri through. Maybe Kaltos has a pick for it. Actually, you were saying maybe Nico could be a flex. Nico is good into Ahri on mid lane, so we could see that as well. I'm interested to see what they could.
I was about to pull out an insane suggestion, but it's the kind of thing Cultus will have secretly practiced. She does like a bit of playing League, doesn't she? Is at the moment, there's like a kind of, if it's Ahri on 4, it's kind of a mad Vigar angle, by the way.
True.
Like kind of
Actually
low key,
true.
like it's
Spicy.
kind of that's pull out of nowhere. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just thinking traditional counters into Ahri is like Lysandra. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of Vigar in the past that he's played in China, and then you're playing Vigar into stuff like the Vi and the Rel. It will not be an Ahri. It wasn't banned, but they're going to go for the Scion. This gives Viosta the side laning, and it also means they do though cover their mid pick because maybe they're concerned that Cultus had something for a dive buddy for the Vi.
Yeah, I mean, there's Vladimir. Oh,
like
so it's
this.
gonna be okay. Never
Yeah, I
mind.
like Sahen here.
I like Zehen a
I
lot
mean, it's
here.
good.
Zehen.
It's good.
It's really good here. Zehen is really good here. There's lots of people he's going to be in range of.
Especially
the
'cause-
low range Sivir.
Yeah. SK Avarosa kind of needs some more bursty damage because the longer... And then GTL now just picking away the Ahri, which I'm pretty sure SK Avarosa anticipated. Like, they knew the Ahri could get taken away, so they have an answer for that. The only issue I see is that with the Sahan, you need to really nuke that champ, but at the same time you need to nuke your Smolder. It's something that could go and get into problems with. Because, first of all, even now with Annie, they don't have like the best damage to just nuke that champ, which means Sahan should get the passive off to be able to revive. And that's kind of the scary part for it as well. So there's like a lot of pressure points from D2 Hell. And as Avarosa, they have like a really easy comp, which we like to see from them. But I still think G2 Hell, they have far more threats in so many different ways. Smaller scaling Sion, being obnoxious and being hard to kill. Disengage, engage options. Making it really, really hard for the Vi to even find any angles to go in. So like the only issue is maybe getting through the sign for them, but overall I just think G2 Hell, they have like the pure comfort and what they actually want to do, especially around Riosna as well. So I'm gonna say I actually think G2 Hell is gonna take this to 0.
I'm agreeing. I actually think this is a very good draft. I think if you want to go in as Vi onto the Smolder, you don't really have that much more follow-up that can actually get through the other members of G2 Hell. G2 Hell have an awful lot of playmaking tools. They can play angles with the Ahri. They can get angles here with an Eco. And if I'm looking at SK Avarosa, it's like clear vision, try and get Rel into that off-angle flank that gets a backline access. It's very hard. And the Smolder is going to be stopped. The Smolder will not be stopped, right? The Smolder will just be sat there going, well, if you vault me, I can have Wukong separate the fight, create space. I have Nico as well, an entire zone they can't run through. I think this is a really good draft for G2 Hell, and I think it fits what they want to be doing. And I think SK Avarosa, they have picked easy to execute champions, but I don't think this is easy to execute when it gets into the game.
No, exactly. I think once they get into the thick of it, they will. I think they will start to struggle, like you say. I think Yushi has to get really creative to get any sort of backline access, and I mean. Yeah, I'm also voting for G2 Hell here just because I think they have a scary comp, lot of damage in the arsenal here as well, and yeah, disruptiveness, CC, great following up and wombo combo potential. Like, yeah, I think G2 is most likely going to close this off in a 2-0 fashion then, but I would love to be proven wrong, of course.
Go to 3 games. You know, everyone loves a game 3 banger. I'm actually looking here as like we've seen Sivirs in this tournament suddenly turn on after 3-4 items and actually make stuff happen. But that is the biggest question for me, is like, in this game, can the 4 item Sivir, can it get to 4 items, and then are you fighting Smolder late game effectively? And I don't think you do. But it is on here. Maybe SK Avarosa can look for leads early. There is setup in mid lane, right? And he does have a very easy to execute stuff. You click on them, wow, amazing. And then the Vi can then come in to follow up on that. You can try and shut down Cultus, who I think has been, in my opinion, overall the best performing member of G2 Hell so far this tournament. After I've caught some other games on other streams, and I think everyone has looked pretty good on the roster, but I think Cultus is maybe just edging it out with a couple of performances we've seen. And I think maybe shutting down what is sort of a talisman, like symbolic player for G2 could maybe do something there. And then you cause the others to have to really step up. But again, I don't know. I'm struggling. I really want to give some props to SK. I want to see a game 3, but I find it very, very difficult to sit there and I
mean, I think the
angle here.
Yeah, the one angle I think SK Avarosa has is like just stacking the first 2 Drakes and start pushing G2 Hell, because then we also can't split push. It's like a very small angle, but it's doable. If SK Avarosa does it, if they get, they had really bad Drakes so far, but if they manage to get those, I can still see them win. But it's literally the only angle. I think G2 gets 1 Drake, it's already really tough for SK Avarosa. So. Yeah, that's why it's also just leaning so heavily for G2 Hell, because it's much easier for them and SK Avarosa. They gotta literally play picture perfect.
Yeah. No, I see, but we luckily don't have to decide that just now, because the game is going to be played for us. Let's take it away to our casters here.
Thank you so much, guys. Again, another very interesting draft, Lunari.
Yes.
I think this one is less about stylistic mismatch and more about the complexity of ease of execution versus target access.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the desk already talked about it. SK has made their life a little harder with this draft than it maybe should have been. And especially after the game 1 that we saw, I do really like what G2 put together here. We have just also in the green room talked about it a little bit, and it's just so many tools on the side of G2, not only to engage but also to disengage. You have the clone, you have the dash on the Zahin, you have actually 2 clones, like on the Wukong and on the Nico, and still have with the Pop Blossom, and you have just so many tools in every direction. And yeah, I think if SK wants to win this, as we already heard, they have to play it pretty much picture perfect and find the perfect angles to even get access to the team of G2.
Yeah, absolutely do. I mean, you're looking for off-vision flank angles. You're looking for hoping to catch the Smolder on, because every other member of that team, you aren't really able to catch them. Even if you do drop your combo on their head, there's clones, there's dashes, there's so many different ways to just survive and outlast. If you aren't dropping everything on this Smolder's head, your fight might drop off a cliff, but that does put you on a timer. This Smolder is inevitably going to hit critical mass.
Yeah, definitely. And I also do really like the pick from the Smolder into the Zivir. I mean, the dragon can just basically chill bot lane and just get stacking, and in the end has a team that can just support him so well in the later fight. So you do also, even if the game goes longer into the like later stages, you still have this late game insurance that is gonna guarantee you so much damage in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. We are experiencing a small delay with a pause at the beginning of the game, so we'll be going to game very shortly. Never mind, we are back with it already. I've just been told by production. Brilliant! Timing is impeccable as ever. We're on to the Rift
Always.
game number 2 of this best of 3 series. Due to Hell, as mentioned, sitting 1-0 up. And hopefully, we won't see a level 1 shenanigan like we did last game. The teams aren't really built for a level 1 shenanigan like we saw last game. Granted, they weren't last game either.
That's true. I mean, sometimes you don't know what those players are up to. So we could see either way. We are seeing definitely some D wards getting placed down to get some early information on the routing of those junglers. And yeah, I'm just praying a little bit for SK that they can find some angles for themselves, but they're gonna have a hard time. They're definitely gonna have a hard time. And yeah, but I'm just hoping to at least make it close.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see Iziri opting for that Deathfire touch alongside Apollonia in this game. Of course, Deathfire touch now does exclusively magic damage, so the cleaver interaction is gone. As Alshi just gonna look for the crash down, not gonna find too much of a mark on that one first time round. But Deathfire Grasp, or Deathfire Touch, Deathfire Grasp, good lord, Deathfire Touch, ever since its reintroduction, since years and years and years ago, has proven to be very strong on a lot of these champions that do have a lot of short cooldown, high damage abilities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does make sense in this case. You have, as you already mentioned, you have the AP damage that just comes with it, and to just round off the damage of the team, it absolutely makes sense to go for it here, and like to see it in the mid lane, and we can definitely see what is happening right now in the bot lane, what we talked about earlier. The Xivir is basically gonna crash the wave into the Smolder, and the Smolder says, "Thank you very much. I can now stack for free." And not really for free. I mean, you definitely give space to the side of SK Avarosa in the meantime, but still, having a safe farming Smolder in the early game is everything you can wish for the side of G2 right now.
Yeah, certainly is. Alshi already going for this early roam up towards that mid lane. We can see Nemris just having to respect, not knowing where this Nico is.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm also really interested to see how they want to enable the Vi in the jungle. Usually a little more early game focused jungler, so maybe SK is even looking for some early game plays. You can see actually the invade happening right now, and just looking towards the enemy side jungle a little bit, but no major engages happening right now so far, but maybe another tool they want to play around, maybe.
Yeah, most definitely one of those moments you look at it and you go, this is what I want to do, this is very clearly what I want to do, this is what we're going to do. Whether you can pull it off or not is another story. We did say last game that if Yushia could invade onto Sheena, it would be good. Of course, Zyra very strong into the Mundo in the early stages, because I mean, what's Mundo going to do? Just walk at you, and you kind of just get your damage down if you've got a couple of your stacks of your W for free. But this game, it's much harder. Vi Wukong is a much more volatile matchup for these two junglers.
Yeah, definitely not as clear as in the game before. But in the end, I mean, the Zyra did manage to stack a good amount of gold, but still didn't find the impact that SK would have needed in the stages of the game, and especially in the later stages of the game. So let's see if Yusha can pull it off with a Vi in this case. I mean, probably not in the later stages. We already talked about it earlier. Vi more early game, a little bit more early game focus here, but still has an engage tool in her kit for later on. We see the first roams towards mid lane.
We do. Something
It's a little-
could break out, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stare down. It feels a little similar to the last game where both teams don't want to do any mistakes. They're like, oh, we are happy to just take the farm and not overforce anything, to just don't be the one tipping over the cliff with their first mistake. But I mean, it does make sense, especially for the side of G2, just going for the scale in the bot lane and just stretching the game and the first fight as long as they want to go. But they're gonna start off the first dragon, maybe?
Could
Okay, they're gonna
We've got
engage.
mid. Lumi gonna force the flash away. Vault breaker attack. Adds onto
Yeah.
Dutch already used. Oh, she's gonna take a good chip on her health bar there. Dragon was the initial play. Looks like they may go back to it now, but it will be traded for Yushia's top side jungle.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the play that SK wanna go for and try to start off playing around those dragons. But what just happened in the mid lane is actually what we just talked about in draft already. They, even if they can find the engages and if they try to engage onto the side of G2, G2 just has so many tools to just walk out of there, and this is gonna be a hard time for SK to try and catch the team of G2. And G2 is gonna take the trade, and SK is gonna put the first Drake into their pocket, which is gonna be a crucial point in the game for them.
Certainly is. We can see Lumi and Sheena here looking onto Yushia after the counter invade. It's like there may be the idea of continuing to fight for jungle here. Vault breaker gonna land as Aoshi arrives. Shattering Strike will find one. Crashdown tags onto two. But a good route will keep Yushia out of this fight a bit longer. Kalta's going low in the mid lane in the meanwhile as Nico clone gets flipped. Flash Shattering Strike lands. There's not many ultimates as Iziri able to mom across the fight. Sheena's surviving for such a long time. First blood will go across, but it will be traded immediately. Now it is Iziri who is on the run. Shattering Strike doesn't quite land as Nemris is just firing from all cylinders. It is a 1-for-1 off the back. A kill to Sheena for a kill to Aoshi.
Yes, but I think it's a little unlucky that it sits on the rel in the bot lane, but still really important to also check a little bit for SK what they can do and what are their possibilities. But after the initial engage, we saw again just how easy G2 can escape those initial engages from SK. They had to follow pretty deep and pretty long to be able to secure the kill for themselves. So definitely something to watch out. And also you could see how much damage the Smolder is already doing. And it's not even late into the game. I mean, we were just fighting at minute 8. So the Smolder can become really, really scary. As well as the Zivir though, definitely.
Yeah. Both of these AD carries, big scalers. It is Hex Optics Rush for Nenris here on this Sivir.
Yes, definitely.
Grubs went across to G2 Hell, which is going to make Vyozna a terrifying side laner in this game. Not really much you can do to stop this Zarhen once he gets a little bit stronger. For now, 2 minutes 20 on the next dragon, so not like to see anything major happen in that time frame. Just going to be stacking up on the Smolder.
Yeah, just the Smolder is just gonna take more and more stacks and just gonna be really happy about it probably. And I'm really curious to see how both teams are gonna approach the dragon in 2 minutes time, and if G2 is willing to trade another one for maybe some space on the map or some pressure elsewhere, and if SK is just gonna rush to stack those dragons, or just maybe play around it and try to get some catches as they did before. But in general, I think G2 shouldn't allow SK to just stack those dragons easily.
No, that is not really what you want to. You don't want to give too much of an inch in the earlier stages.
Definitely not.
It just means you have to fight that much harder as the game gets later.
Even though you have your scaling bot laner, but still you don't want to give too much away. Especially if you have a look at the gold difference so far. Nenris has already managed to get up in gold a little bit, sourcing from not only the couple of farms that she has ahead already, also some turret plates that she managed to secure for herself. And I mean, yeah, it's just 700 gold, but still, those part items and a couple of part items can definitely make a huge difference in the first stages. Ooh, I think maybe we do have a little bit of a major issue. We do. Okay.
Yeah, feed has gone a little dry for us there. So early stage of the game, about what we would expect from both of these teams so far. SK Avarosa with a slight edge, which is to be expected. You've got Vi, Annie. You are looking to make plays in the early stages. But it's a lot more even than I think we would anticipate as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think G2 definitely manages really well to stay away from those early fights that maybe a Vi Annie comp wants to force or get those early picks, especially maybe in the mid lane. And they are really just doing the stare down. They are like, we are not overstepping. We are not giving you any edge. We are not giving you the possibility to utilize your early game champions. And on the other hand, they are like, yeah, we know we have our Smolder that is just going to be scaling in the bot lane. So they are really happy with not fighting really much at the moment, because it's just surviving the early game with a Vi and just trying to get the game into the later stages. Even though, as I already mentioned, I'm curious on how they're gonna play the Drake, and we are just perfectly back for the dragon spawn, because G2 is probably gonna look for a steal or maybe a contest. Are they though? Are they just giving away the dragon? Okay.
I think you can give this one. Your Smolder only sitting on 85 stacks. Ari,
I see.
Ari and Sheena, or Cultus and Sheena, looking up towards that top side. They're just looking to steal away whatever they can.
Yeah.
You want to trade what you can rather than look to match what your opponent is doing in situations like this, because you're waiting for a break point.
That's true. Yeah, especially as we talked about Vi, the more early game focused, actually getting out farmed right now, which does make sense because the top jungle got traded for the two Drakes here. So probably feeling quite comfortably for Sheena right now, even though they lost those two Drakes. But I think the desk already talked about it as well, that like the dragon stacking, even though SK was a little shaky with it in the first game, could definitely be a condition to play around for SK's comp.
Yeah, it definitely could. I've just realized this is Trinity Force Vi.
That's true, yeah. Yeah,
Not something you see very often.
that's true. Didn't really pay attention, but yeah.
What you're saying is absolutely right. I think
Yeah.
the longer this game goes, the harder and harder it's going to get for SK.
Yeah.
I think
Definitely.
we've kind of we've hammered that nail so much on the head. It's stuck in the wood at this point. But there isn't much more to say about this game at the moment. There's not a huge amount happening. This is exactly what we kind of expect this game to be doing. And, you know, weird build choice from Yushia aside, it might not even be weird, I might just be outdated. The game isn't going particularly poorly for either side. Gold lead is almost non-existent. It's relatively stable across the board. Smolder, 103 stacks at 13 minutes, nearly hitting that second break point, has just been left in lane on her own to stack up, which is kind of what you want to do in this game. You want your Nico to be able to influence the map.
Yes.
See, saying that, you've got both Lumi and Sheena on the bottom side if they look to dive the Smolder, but they don't.
No, there's too much protection. Just also from Sheena, just hovering the Smolder and trying for her to be safe. And you can see the lane swaps coming through. So the Zaheen now heading towards the bot lane, and the Smolder just trying to get even more stacks in the mid lane and maybe getting some pressure down. And it just makes sense. Just try and get the most easy farm on the Smolder. And also get some pressure on the bot lane tower. But,
yeah, you want to... So as good as breaking mid tower is, if you can break side towers, it's also really important because it means you're forcing people to match on sides.
Definitely.
That being said, we can see Kaltis is in a little bit of danger here. Vault Breaker was being charged up by Yushia. They were looking to see if they can make something happen, but a good root comes down onto Aoshi, has to flash away. The Cyclone was used. So it's going to be the Cyclone for flash trade, which is solid for the side of G2 Hell, because now this rail is much more punishable. Flash forwards from Apollonia, misses onto Kaltis. That Spirit Rush doing so much work. You've now got the Vault Breaker landing onto Lumi, able to heal to safety. Herald's been started up. It's a 4 versus 3. Kaltis looking back in. Is going to throw the Charm as Vyoshna and Wolfie both teleport down. Lumi looking for an angle in here. Charm onto Yushia, has to back away. Grim Deliverance lands onto all. Pop Blossom follows. Mom across the top. And G2 Hell show SK Avarosa what a wombo combo does. That's what they needed last game, and they could not find it.
And that's exactly what we talked about in draft. If this combo is hitting, it's a hard time for SK to even have an option to escape the pure utility that G2 is bringing to the table. And this is not only securing them a significant gold lead right now, this is also securing them the Herald, which is gonna be crucial on opening up the map. And this is Zaheen is gonna knock down the top lane tower as well. And I mean, G2 played the waiting game absolutely perfect. They waited for their moment, and then the wombo combo snapped, and SK had basically nowhere to go.
It was good night, sweet princess, the moment the first spell landed. The Grim Deliverance Pop Blossom combo does so much damage. G2 Hell, they know what they need to do for one, but they found the 1 second in that entire fight that let them pull off that combo.
Yeah.
It is now SK Avarosa with control over the river for Dragon. The Herald's been popped in mid lane, and the tower will go down. This opens up the map. Sheena gonna run the Herald through the jungle. Potentially look to crash it into that bottom lane. Instead, gonna use it to start up the Dragon. It is going to be another full 5-on-5 as Kaltis gonna get stunned up in the bottom lane. Charm goes wide, Cease and Assist is used. Cyclone comes in to keep the mid laner alive. Pop Blossom tags onto 2. In comes Nenris, but both Apollonia and Aoshi are already dead. Wolfie's tanking up 3 on the back side, and it just won't be enough. The damage is so much. Tower goes down. Grim Deliverance tags onto 2, and they both drop as well. It is Yushia on her own, running with her tail between her legs. Smited away the Lumi drops, smite away the Herald under the tower, so the poor Nico is a little bit lost behind enemy lines there. But another really nicely played punish by G2 Hell.
Yeah, that was just perfectly seen as well, and you can just see the pure power of the Zaheen. I think sometimes still a little bit of an underrated pick, but the Grim Deliverance in this situation with the AoE utility is just insanely strong. And especially sitting 1-0 and 6, feeling really comfortable with a 2.5k gold lead over Wolfie is yeah, it's just disgusting at this point. Let's not sugarcoat it, and it's just gonna be a crazy hard time for SK to find any angle. I mean, we've already said it in draft that it's gonna be hard, but now you really know and you really get what we were talking about. Because if SK tries to engage on G2, G2 is just gonna walk out of there, Spirit Rush out of there, Cyclone, Clone, you name it, out of there. And on the other hand, they just don't have the disengage tools to be able to escape the G2 combo. And it's just gonna be... I mean, I want to say almost impossible, but I don't want to judge too early. But it's definitely gonna be a crazy hard time for SK to find those picks and to find those numbers advantage in the situation that they need to even be able to maybe pick out 1 or 2 members of G2. Oh, maybe this is the situation.
The top side, Cease and Assist comes down. Charm comes in onto Yushia. Unfortunately, Lumi will drop Hiss. Another Vault Breaker not going to find its mark as Sheena and Cultist have to now run for the hills. Flash forwards, Magnet Storm from Aoshi will catch onto them both. A good Charm and the Cyclone to disengage. But in comes Wolfie with the Unstoppable Onslaught. Tibbers is dropped onto Yushia's head. Sheena, onto Sheena's head, sorry. And Cultist will drop on the other side. Now the Baron is in the sights of SK Avarosa.
Yeah, maybe I talked too early. Maybe I
It's
talked
possible.
too early.
Base is being opened in the meanwhile, however. Wolfie is resetting as Vyozhna tries to open up this inhibitor. And I think a big part of why that didn't work is Vyozhna not being there. That Cultivation of War gives so much AD, and the Grim Deliverance is such a big area damage ultimate that Lumi is looking to dissuade this here, actually. Vyozhna TPing in. They could look for a fight off the back of this. Aoshi is quite low. Shattering Strike doesn't land. A stun comes in from Apollonia. Pullback is not found as the Blast Cone is used as a teleport on the backside from Cultist. They want this as Iziri finds the slow onto Apollonia. Grim Deliverance is dropped. And he is going very low. Flash away from Iziri. It does find the kill. And down goes Nenris too. Both of the carries now don't have this Baron any longer. And Aoshi should drop here very soon as well. If not to Lumi, then to Iziri. Look to the crash down. Can't find the Shattering Strike. One more auto. Not quite! As the Locket keeps her alive. It will go to Lumi in the end, but a good trade back. But now, even with these Baron waves, they're barreling down.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's maybe a last strand to catch on for SK here, but also the extended fights and the interruption of the backports in the top lane just bought the whole team of G2 so much time to open up the base and forcing SK back into their base. So they can't really utilize this Baron really great right now. I mean, they got rid of it on 2 members. On Nenris and Apollonia, no more Baron for them. But still, I mean, it's just so much map control for G2 right now. I mean, they're moving through the enemy jungle as it would be theirs. And yeah, they are still, even though if they lost the Baron, they are still absolutely in control right now.
Absolutely are. Still just under 6,000 gold in the lead. Next Dragon up in 40 seconds. It will be soul point for SK Avarosa if they're able to pick it up. 205 stacks on Iziri, almost at that critical mass point that we were talking about. That execute is merely a second away. Vyozhna just going to hold the mid waves for now. as the rest of the team hover their AD carry looking on towards this top lane inhibitor. If this top lane inhib tower falls, there is nothing standing between G2 Hell and the enemy base. Aoshi and Apollonia are going to do what they can, but there's a good chunk of damage coming down. Crash down used just for the shield. In the meanwhile, Kaltis and Vyozhna trying to push in on towards this mid lane inhibitor. Reminder, the bot lane inhibitor is still down. So the super minions are pushing out there. It was just shoved out as Aoshi going to look for an engage onto Sheena. Finds it, but the Cyclone interrupts. Cease and desist onto the Wukong as well. Flash away, goes back in, finds the Cyclone once again. Stacks have been reached for Iziri, but they are going a little bit low. Kaltis was able to get the mid lane inhibitor in the meanwhile.
Yeah, and they play it just so smart. I mean, SK has to try and get a numbers advantage towards top lane to interrupt a G2 from pushing this last inhibitor tower. And this is just the moment that G2 used to engage into the mid lane, forces Wolfie to ult top to join the fight, and still just bought them so much time to open up the mid lane inhibitor and just pressure even more into the base of SK. So even though it maybe looked like a good angle for SK at some situations, it's just G2 is just playing the macro game and just the all-over timings just so well.
Certainly are. Aoshi gonna get the Shattering Strike under the tower. Cease and desist, Vault Breaker gonna tag onto Vyozhna. A lot of damage coming down here as Apollonia is moving in. Finds Tibbers onto 2. It's a lot of damage coming down, but the Grim Deliverance should keep Vyozhna alive for now. Tibbers is going to run her down. A good flash away from the Vault Breaker into the Tangle Barbs just to make sure this Zahen survives. They're trying so hard to find something they can do. This dragon is still alive, but the bot side has fallen into disregard in this game.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. That sums it up pretty well. I mean, the moment they were fighting in their top jungle, there was just Kaltis pushing in the super minion wave in bot side, forcing Wolfie to answer and not being able to join the team. And the pressure in general on the bot side of the map of SK is just huge right now. They have to answer. I mean, one inhib just respawned, but they still have to answer the mid lane super minions. And we can see it in the gold graph. I mean, just this one fight was just so snowbally for G2 here. They just played the waiting game perfectly till minute 15 and then found the angle and completely smashed it afterwards.
And they did. Dragon and Soul Point is going to be gifted across to SK Avarosa here, while Kaltis and Sheena look to break open this last inhibitor tower onto that top side, which they have done. It is now just inhibs. Playing the wait game for the Baron, 27 seconds on this spawn, and if they can get it, it suddenly becomes so difficult to keep this open. SK, they aren't really being given an inch here. They have to just try and defend their inhibitors. If they can stop this Baron going through, that gets easier. But if G2 Hell get the Baron, it might be lights out.
Yeah, it might be a game-ending decision there. But in general, I think I do like the trade of the Dragon for just this extra inch of base from SK, because they are just opening up the possibilities so much more. And just giving away that one Drake is not going to be too crucial, I think.
Speaking of the engage, they found the cease and desist onto Iziri, and she is one shot. Sheena's looking onto the backline to try and get some damage down, but it's just not enough. Vyozhna joins the fight through the TP teleport, only finds 2 with the pull. Grim Deliverance comes down, but it's just not enough damage. There's no cultivation happening. Vyozhna falls as well. Kaltis is nowhere near this fight, and it's Lumi left on this tower doing what she can. That might be what they needed to come back. It's not G2 with the Baron, it's SK Avarosa.
They just managed to find the almost impossible fight to get themselves back onto the map. I mean, in the meantime, Kaltis is trying to trade back what she can, but it's actually, as you mentioned, SK on the Baron right now. And that is something we didn't expect 2 minutes ago. But SK Avarosa made it happen with an incredible fight in the mid lane. Like, they actually found the opportunity and found the angle to just basically demolish through the team of G2. So excellently done there. And that is also something a really good team always shows, that it's never over until the Nexus falls. And they actually show that with brilliance right now. And I think this time they can actually utilize this Baron way better. And now the timer in the top right also gets way more crucial for G2, because in just over 2 minutes, this Dragon Soul is spawning for SK on the Rift, and now it's gonna be decided if giving away the dragons earlier were a mistake or not.
Absolutely. And now I'd like to point out this was a 6,500 gold lead in favor of G2. It's
Insane.
now less than 1.5k. And on the backside, Sheena's been found completely unawares. Blows the flash and still drops the Soul Furnace. Kaltis has had to use the Spirit Rush just to try and escape. There's so much healing coming out. Pop Blossom is good, but it's the damage there. Iziri is doing what she can, but it might not be enough. One is gone. Yushia drops, but it's traded for Iziri's life. It's Vyojna and Lumi versus the world, because Kaltis has to take the reset. The Cultivation of War is stacked if Vyojna can keep it going. Does have it. Could look for the revive. Jump in. The Grim Deliverance is not up and available, however, so they're just going to have to give this tower. It's another pixel perfect catch for one by SK Avarosa, but Sheena looking for the flank and just can't find it.
Yeah, this was just another perfect showcase, and SK is completely evening out the goal lead, as you already mentioned, of almost like over 6k with 2 fights. And Dragon just about 1 minute away from spawning. And there are the pings already coming through. They are absolutely looking to get this Dragon Soul under their belt, to find their way back into this game in a really incredible fashion so far, I must say. So still, there are no inhibitor towers left. There's one open inhib, but SK still managed to find their way back onto the map. And now zoning G2 away from this dragon spawning in roughly 15 seconds.
And they are looking for the pressure on towards this mid lane. The Baron has just ran out.
Yes.
As you can see, so much damage coming out of Nemris at this point. 4 completed items. Those ricochets are going to rip through the team. Hiding in this bush with absolute no vision. You can see Cultis on a flank there, as is Vyojna. Aoshi looking onto Lumi. Cease and Desist comes down onto Iziri, into the unstoppable onslaught, and the Smolder is one shot. Sheena and Kaltis have to try and leave. The Pop Blossom comes in, but only tagged onto one right at the end. It does mean that Apollonia will fall, and Vyojna can now keep looking for Nemris. Gets stunned up. Spell Shield comes in. Cultivation of War is stacked. Will get popped. Lumi fell about 5 seconds ago. Kaltis had to run to the side of the fight, and Vyojna, unfortunately, will just drop. Single-digit damage from Iziri and Sheena. Double-digit damage from Kaltis. This fight was not even close. It's not just been an equalization, it's been a swing of epic proportions for SK Avarosa. They were on the back foot for so much of the game, but they're finally in the lead.
I mean, what a crazy swing. What an incredible swing for SK. I mean, we see now they are popping open the mid lane inhibitor. They are rushing towards this dragon, and they are just gonna demolish this as well. You can still see the open inhib from SK's base in the bot lane, but the straight up 5v5 fight that we like praised so much early into the game was just not working out for G2, because SK were just able to knock down this Smolder and just to knock down this late game insurance and late game damage for G2 completely in the first couple of seconds. So this was definitely what SK had to do, and they are just looking to snowball now their gold lead further into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this kind of goes back to what the desk was saying. The Smolder should be perfectly fine because there's so many tools to just buy space, but they're
absolutely.
constantly looking for flanks. They aren't with their carry, meaning this Vi can just cease and desist onto this Smolder's head, and it gets so hard.
I mean, G2 just managed it so well in the first couple of fights, just finding those angles and finding this peel for their carries. And right now, everything feels like it's crumbling apart a little bit. And also, if you look at this Xavier looks scary as hell. Now also completed a Guardian Angel, so you definitely have to kill her twice. And not just once, so even scarier than before.
Absolutely is. You can see EUniverse on the side there, looking for that bot lane inhibitor once again, and Kaltz is looking for the top lane one, while 4 members strong are SK Avarosa in this mid lane. The Baron is up and available. Apollonia gonna look to take the reset to try and stop this push dead in its tracks, but it looks like that top lane inhibitor is going to fall. Cultists may opt to look to continue to push the base here to give Vyojna a bit of time. Nenris did reset. Spirit Rush used by Cultists just to get to safety. Apollonia looking onto Sheena. We'll find the stun if nothing else. There is a Vault Break on the backside. Spirit Rush is down. Charm will cancel a lot of the damage, but it is going to be Cultists falling. Cyclone used to try and stay alive from Sheena. Good Tangle Barbs from Lumi to keep Sheena alive, but the cease and desist is there. And now Iziri is behind enemy lines. Vyojna is in the enemy base looking for something, anything. Got one Nexus Tower, another one stands, 2 inhibs are down. Vyojna now runs for the hills, 3 members strong looking onto this Baron on the other side. Lumi, the only member alive to try and play Dissuade as Iziri takes the reset. Vyojna does get taken out on the bottom lane in the meanwhile. Everything is happening everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can just definitely see that G2 is just desperately trying to open up SK space and play around those win conditions, but it's, yeah, at the end, it's not really working out right now because SK has just good answers, and now pushing in this mid-wave, Baron empowered, dropping themselves the Baron. And also on the top right counter, we see an Elder Drake spawning in not even 3 minutes time. So this is gonna be an interesting objective as well. I mean, the last couple of fights were all in favor of SK, especially because you already mentioned it. The peel for the Smolder was not really there. So if your damage carry is just getting one shot in the first couple of seconds, it's just gonna take away your most important DPS in this moment. So G2 is now in the position to find answers, and is now with their back against the wall to try and come back into this game, which is crazy because the gold lead completely shifted. Now SK is sitting on a 6.5k gold lead. It's crazy.
It certainly is. Sheena in the middle of SK Avarosa here, looking for a catch onto Apollonia, but was completely isolated during that play. You see Lumi and Cultist just hovering towards this top side here. They don't want to give too much. There has been a gold swing of 12,000 in the last 10 minutes or so in favor of SK Avarosa. Looking on towards this top lane inhibitor. Yushia is looking for Iziri and does in fact find her, but the Pop Blossom is going to keep her safe for now. Smolder is living. In goes Sheena looking. Clone is going to absorb the Magnet Storm. There's a lot of ultimates being used here. Mid lane inhibitor is going to be the one to drop. Lumi does what she can. Top lane tower does go down as well, but there's teleports into the base. There's teleports into the base! G2 health out the back door! What?
We weren't even watching! We weren't even watching the base! We need to see a clip of that.
What?
Seriously! Seriously! Like, I just thought this game is over! Can you speak? Do you have words? Do you find them?
You know what? I was going to say this when, after the initial fight that gave G2 Hell the lead, and as the game went on, I second guessed it. I was like, okay, I'll wait until they close the game out. I'll wait until they close the game out, right? No, it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, I'll hold it. I'm gonna say it now because apparently they did close the game out. G2 Hell with a role swapped Caltis are looking just as strong as they ever have.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, there were some missteps. There were some missteps maybe here and there, but in general, especially the initial fights were incredibly played, incredibly executed, and just as they're oh, and we can see the
So
replay.
We do have a replay of the end of this game. Let's just see
There's
how it
the
goes. So the
TP.
pop blossom happens.
There's the TP.
TP's in from Vyoshna. She was fighting Nenris on the top side of the fight and couldn't get it. And then the teleport from Iziri follows as well,
And
because
the
there's suddenly no
Sahim.
CC to stop it. The only members who get back are Nenris and Yushia, and it's not enough because Vyoshna got in so early.
And
that
this-
is an incredible call from whoever made that. I'm going to wager it was Vyoshna, and Iziri jumped on as well.
Crazy.
That is an amazing call. These inhibs staying open the entirety of the game. They always made sure one
Crucial.
was down. They got the Nexus towers. There's 5 members in your base, and you say, we go.
We go
Just
now.
go.
We go now. And this was such a crucial decision-making point. And this Zaheen is also demolishing those towers, and especially the Nexus in the end. I mean, the Nexus was, I don't know, 4 or 5 hits. So just being aware on how much damage you have and how much time you actually need is incredible. It's incredible. But that is
Because-
basically the perfect end for a series that we wanted
is.
to be close.
Especially a series like that, right?
Yeah.
I think the even more important thing is if you don't succeed in that play, the game is over for you when you go
Yeah.
into game 3.
Yeah,
That was incredible.
yeah.
I do believe, however, that is it from myself and Lunari. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, same.
Very,
same.
very fun. We are going to throw it to a very quick break, but when we come back, I believe the desk will break down that game for you, and there may even be an interview. So don't go anywhere because you're not going to want to miss it.
And just with every victory, we have to do another victory lap and a winner's interview. And I'm being joined by Lumi here today. Hi, Lumi. First of all, congratulations with the win. How's it feeling? Yeah, you'll be going directly to, well, the final here now. Going up against Vitality, who has been completely unbeaten. So, how does it feel going up against them, and what are your expectations there? Oh, I've just gotten an update. Vitality is actually no longer undefeated. Thank you for that. Are we good?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. What's the overall feeling for you in the team right now, being part of, G2 Hell?
I'm really excited. I am also really, really happy to have this chance because I dream of it a lot of times, and now being part of it, it's amazing.
So glad to hear that. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the champions that you ended up playing today. Were both enchanters. You played Karma, you played Nico. Nico, a little bit of your specialty. How does it feel for you currently, like playing enchanters when the shift is expected to go more towards engaged supports?
I mean, I kind of figured out, or like we figured out in the team, that the picks I took were more lane bullies instead of enchanters, so that's how I play it. So I feel like, of course, the meta should have shifted, but we shouldn't ignore the fact that there are lane bullies still, and this is still how the season started to play, or the meta start to play. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in picking these champions, but I wouldn't ignore the fact that Nautilus is still good, for example.
And you are comfortable playing the Nautilus, of course, right?
Yes.
All right. So I am excited to see you guys head into series with a lot more games coming, just to see how this fearless format is going to play out for you. But this roster is quite new, right? Have you played with anyone on this roster before?
Yes, I played with the top lane before, like with Viosna. We played last year in Galleons together. And a part of that, no, everyone's new.
All right. And for you, because I've mentioned again, you're playing for G2 Hell, do you feel like there's a lot of pressure to form a certain way playing for such a big organization?
In the beginning, I thought the same. I felt maybe it will be a bit of pressure behind it playing for G2. But the more we grown together as a team, I didn't feel this feeling anymore. I don't know, we are a big family, I feel like.
How would you describe the vibes overall in the team?
Pretty chill. We do a lot, even a part of League together, playing some games, for example. But when it comes up to playing the officials, it's really high competitive, and I really like this. I think we can do fun together, but the overall vibe is changing if we have officials coming through.
So everyone locks in then and just gets on down on it. But okay, then I want to talk about game number 2, because game number 1, that was pretty smooth sailing for G2, right? You locked that one in. Game number 2, it started to look a little bit shaky at some point. What was going on?
I feel like in early game we did control, or we did have the control of the game, and we were pretty clear on what we want to do. But the moment we shift to late game, or mid to late game, I would say, and we opened up 2 inhibs, we were a bit sloppy on the setup on top side. We got a bit unfocused, I would say, and then they have 2 open inhibs with a severe, and it comes to hyper scaling for them, which was all bad, I would say.
But this game ended in, a way that a lot of us in the green room definitely didn't expect to happen. A massive bot wave, Zahen teleporting after it. What were the comms like at this moment?
Like first, as far as I remember, at first we run through mid lane and we had a flank on Wukong, which we like tried to play on because they were split on two sides while being set up. And then we saw the bot wave and we were like, okay guys, there's a huge bot wave incoming. We have to play slow. And we kind of pre-planned it to teleport on bot lane then. And so we just took time and tried to cancel the recalls and stuff like that.
Wow.
So it was planned.
Yes. So you're telling me, right, that this looked like an insanely chaotic moment because, I mean, Yusha flashes forward on the Vi there, looks for that cis knock up onto, I don't fully remember who she was going onto, but you're telling me that everyone on G2 Hell was just like, this is fine, we're going to TP bot and end the game.
I mean, not quite like this, not quite chill like this. Of course, we were a bit stressed in the comms, when it comes to the part that they engaged. Like I think they engaged on Smolder with Flash, and so we tried to defend as much as possible. But I think on the TP part, we were pretty clear that we wanted to TP, and then I think the chaotic part came when we tried to stop the bases and okay, get time, or can you end? And then yeah, I mean there, of course, it was a bit crazy.
But a hype way for sure to end the series, and I suppose also to end the day, because of course the last one for you guys to play as well. Do you have any final statement that you would like to make?
I'm pretty excited and looking forward for the match against Vitality, because we didn't meet them in the Swiss stage ever yet. And so I'm excited to see how this roster comes up, because it is potentially the best roster of a part of us then, but the best looking roster against us. So I'm pretty excited for this, and but I see it with good eye. I'm pretty sure we can win it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lumi, and once again, congrats on the win, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye bye.
All right, that was Lumi, guys. Let's talk about this game that we just watched, because I thought it was pretty chaotic, actually.
That was an insane end, as I think everyone can point out. We were kind of screaming about the bot wave. I think SK didn't really notice how fast it would come in there, and exactly how much pressure there was. Let's not forget Smolder had TP as well, which is an easy thing to forget, that a 30-minute mark that the enemy ADC is also the one that's carrying the ability to get across the map. And yeah, what an end, G2 going to the finals. The actual update from the other game is that Mental Rush are actually up 1-0, so there could be an upset over there, and a rerun of the very first game we covered yesterday. That's exciting. I think there's a lot to be seen on Tuesday.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, it was actually looking quite solid for SK. They got to the point where they said in draft, it's their one way to kind of really have a good game, was to stack up the first two Drakes, and they did that quite well. Although G2 Hell, they made sure they always crash in waves. But then SK Avarosa, I mean, they went too deep here, forcing the fight. At the same time now, we can see as it unfolds, you go back and forth, unsure, do we want to fight this? And Lumi sees the angle here. Look at how they all stack up together with Yosna, flash over, and yeah, that was just a crazy engaged. SK had no chance that this gets taken on, and it felt like from there on the game was over, because in this point, when it's not the greatest fight, you have two dragons, that's what you play for.
And then to follow up, this is the miracle, right, where they do catch Smolder first, and this is where we were going, oh god, SK are actually going to do this. We were not confident coming into this fight, Josh.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, they already had Baron before. It's their second one. They they found a lot of good engages, and they started just sending it, and it did really well. It's something that Avarosa still showed also in game 1, that they have their ways to always somehow come back in the game, and that makes them really scary. The issue is that they then fail to close it out. Same in game 1, they came back, failed to close it out, and you look at this, it's also what Lumi talked about in the interview. They played this very slow, let the bot wave push in on the side of G2L, Avarosa completely ignoring it, now going for the TP, but it is too late. And Yosna with Izeri just ending the game because of that massive wave they ignored. And yeah, if Avarosa had sent someone back earlier, that probably wouldn't have happened. But as Lumi said, I mean, that was like top tier comms from G2L. Clutch when it like in the end mattered to still come back on SK's comeback and win the game 2-0. And they're clearly showing that like right now, they're for sure a top 2 team. And I mean, it's getting interesting because Vitality is playing against Mental Rush, right? If Mental Rush somehow ends up winning, I feel like GTL is just for sure gonna win the final as well.
I mean, if Mental Rush end up winning this, that would be quite the upset. And yeah, thank you for that info, actually, that came through halfway into the interview, that Vitality is no longer undefeated. Like, this is also something I feel like we should discuss.
They did look really solid on day 1 from what I caught up on last night. And I'm a bit surprised to see Mental Rush actually go up a game. I thought Vitality beat, but the Vitality Rising Beast, I didn't think they would necessarily, they could very well made that sort of undefeated run, but I thought Mental Rush had a few issues. I think we saw it in the first clip we showed earlier about, G2 versus Mental Rush, where Mental Rush seems to just fall apart in some of the moments, and Rising Beast seems to always be able to sort of just be really solid across the map. So that first win is absolutely massive. It could also sort of give you that momentum to take it over the line against who I think many coming in today would have said been the favourites out of every team out of the top 8 to get to the final. Commiserations to SK, I will say. I think next month, come back and maybe look at your side lanes a bit, because I think there's a clip earlier today where we were a little bit. I think Joshua will look back at it and go, there's a lot of things here where they're ignoring sideways, they're not fixing them before fights, and that's what's caused the loss. Looking forward, I'm looking forward to the final.
Yeah. It's not even fixing them, also playing for them when they can just put out so much pressure and stuff 5 versus 5. Because like I think SK they have like they have quite a weak early game. I think the drafts also they're sometimes too basic, and sometimes they make it too complicated, and it just seems like in the end that they kind of just can't find the middle ground to make it work. And then I mean, they have these comeback angles, but they never manage to then play them out as well. They can be a scary team for sure because of the comebacks, but right now, obviously, it just looks like they're falling apart when it matters, and as long as you do that, you're definitely not a top team.
Yeah, I mean, they will have this lower bracket run that they can still go through, which is then going to be the best of 1 here versus Eterna. But as we mentioned in the green room as well, this is where they're playing for 3rd place only. So this is not a lower bracket run in the traditional sense where you can make that full-on comeback. As you can see here, thank you production for bringing that up with a very clear graphic.
It's also best of 1s as well, right? In that lower bracket.
Yeah, indeed.
And that's scary stuff, because best of 1s, that's when you send up face and we see there like Bashonza beat Blue Otter, a team that has a number of very familiar names and faces. And Eclipse's obviously run will have ended today as well. Best of 1s are difficult to come through, and they will face a Turner who they've got a little bit of spice in their drafts as well. SK could be in trouble in that lower bracket, and then G2 are waiting on Tuesday for the winner of Vitality Rising Bees and Mental Rush, a game that a series I think that will go on for quite a while yet.
Yeah, probably. I feel like that's gonna be a game 3, and long day out of them, because actually, the losers still gotta play. Exactly, like it's whoever loses, they're gonna come in with a fried brain and just be like, oh, 1 more game, oh no.
Yeah, and that is just sometimes how it is, as we can see. And then we have a grand finals to now look forward to that will be played on Tuesday. Yeah. And that's going to be a best of 5, guys. So then we're really going into these deeper champ choices of we can really start to see some spice, some pocket picks, something unexpected.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what we see from the teams, because especially Vitality, they're obviously lost now, but I still feel like they're going to make it against Mental Rush. But I wonder, because they have a very specific playstyle that seems to work, if they get forced to kind of like rethink it in like a game 3 after 2 games, and so they could, for example, get reverse swept, or they drop a game they weren't supposed to drop, just like now, and suddenly the pool might get thinned out. That's like the interesting question about Vitality if they make the finals, if that's gonna happen, or if not, that they're just gonna dominate as well. Because G2 Hell, I honestly don't feel worried knowing the players. I think all of them will have enough pool to actually manage to like throughout a best of 5 fearless easily.
I think generally my analysis on G2 Hell from what we've seen is that you can change some of the players, but G2 Hell sometimes had moments in the past where they kind of would come up with something, and they come up with a lot of things across so far in this tournament, whether it's draft, strange picks, or whether it's just the ability, like in this game, we were sat there going, this is going to a game 3. SK Avarosa is going to close us out. G2 Hell find the one angle, they pounce on the one mistake, and they're able to run away with the victory in the series, in the game and in the series. So yeah. I think it'd be criminal if Vitality moved to the finals to underestimate this G2 Hell roster, which was sort of cobbled together from maybe some other names that were lower down maybe in the power rankings for some people. And on the other side, if Mental Rush go through, there's a question I'm going to have there about, we saw how they played in that very first game. It needs to be a very different Mental Rush than what we'd seen in the group stage to take it against this G2 Hell roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not fully decided, of course, who is going up against G2 on the Tuesday, but what we can assume already is that it's going to be a banger. We will be back then, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, 19:00 CST. So please come and join us there. For now, this is all for us for today, but we want to give a big thanks to Riot, to Neo, our tournament organizer, LGC, the admin team, of course, and POC TV for running the clean feeds for us. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.